On the agenda tonight, we're going to be taking a look at Olivia Newton-John and her collaboration with Dolly Parton performing Jolene. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So I have been linked to this video quite a lot recently because I believe this was only released about 5 days ago, something like that, and we are certainly overdue another look at Olivia Newton-John. And thank you guys, by the way, for all of the requests to take another look at Olivia following the sad news that she passed away. And still, relatively recently, I did say on the live stream at that time that it was one of those that was almost unbelievable, because Olivia Newton-John was certainly a voice of my childhood and my parents were huge fans of hers. I do have another analysis video on Olivia if you want to check that out independently, where we jump into an analysis of her voice, because it really was a standalone voice, the ability that she had, that I think a lot of people might not appreciate the level to which she could sing. So check out that other video if you do get a chance. So we will jump into this. As always, there's a link in the description below if you want to watch the original video without me jumping into it, because I am going to be jumping into this, and I have edited the mix ever so slightly so that the vocals are a little bit more up front so that we can focus on those. But let's have a listen and see how they get on.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can. Your beauty is beyond compare, with flaming locks of auburn hair, with ivory skin and eyes of emerald green. Your smile is like a breath of spring, your voice is soft like summer rain, and I cannot compete with you, Jolene. He talks about you in his sleep. There's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene. Oh, but I can easily understand how you could easily take my man. You don't know what he means to me, Jolene. Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can.
I'm just going to jump in here, but just briefly, I think we'll watch it all the way to the end in a second. But the great thing about having these vocals more up front is we get to appreciate Olivia's harmony vocals that she's singing with her main line, because I mean they are so precise, and it's great when you get a lead vocalist who then does their own harmonies, because you get this really smooth blend, especially when you're talking about somebody who is really accurate pitch wise. You get this really smooth sound, and that was just Olivia's voice. She had that balance to her sound. But let's watch it until the end.
Now you could have your choice of men, but I could never love again. He's the only one for me, Jolene. Oh, Jolene, I had to have this talk with you. My happiness depends on you, and whatever you decide you'll do, Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him even though you can. You can. Jolene, Jolene, Jolene. to any sleep. I cannot compete with you, Jolene. I had to have this talk with you. My happiness depends on you. Whatever you decide to do, Jolene.
And there we have it. The other thing about this song, but this version of this song, is that, of course, having Dolly involved, it would always run the risk of just sounding like Dolly Parton's version of Jolene, but because of the harmonies, because of Olivia's voice, it puts it in that place where it's definitely a different version. The other thing that I love about this is how guitar heavy it is. I mean, there's so much great guitar playing going on in the background. We've got this hammered on C minor, a little riff in there that's going on the whole time. I think actually we have a guitar tuned down to C. So if you are a guitar player and you've tuned down to D before, or even played in drop D, we're going another tone lower than that, a whole step lower. So yeah, one of the guitars is way down there, but it means that it gives more body to the riffs that are being played, and I think it might be in the left channel, that detuned guitar. But yeah, it's great. But we'll take it all the way back to the beginning and jump into it in a little bit more detail.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please. Don't take my man.
So the first thing that I want to point out is that obviously this is a produced track. We have the performance in the studio to work as a video, but this wasn't just kind of a one-take live thing. And for the most part, I think the way that they've dealt with it from a pitch correction perspective is quite tastefully done. I think it's probably a little bit heavy-handed in this first line that we hear from Olivia. Obviously, it's the first line of the song, so in the studio, that's one that they want to make sure they get exactly right, but I would have left a little bit more of Olivia's voice in there without editing it so much, because we can see on the pitch monitoring software that we have been really, snapped to those lines.
Jolene, 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 Jolene.
I mean, especially on the D-sharp 4 and the F4, you can just hear that processor working to get the notes exactly there. And the C5 as well. I mean, it's kind of just too snapped to the lines because, as we know, great singers don't sing on these lines all the time. But as we progress,
I'm begging of you, please, don't take my man.
And there's a little bit, you could hear a bit of processing going on here with the F4. But other phrases like the vibrato here have been allowed to be free. And I think it's only really noticeable as being a little bit overdone on this first section. And then for the rest of the song, especially when we hear Dolly singing and we see that on the pitch monitoring software, her voice is so unique in itself that you can't really do a lot with Dolly's voice because it is what it is. Let's have a listen on.
Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take him just because you can.
So with Dolly's voice, she has this quite fast, natural vibrato that, yeah, if you were trying to pitch correct that, if you try and do anything with a vibrato that is natural, especially if it's a faster vibrato, but then again, a slower vibrato, trying to pitch correct it is not going to work. All you can do is have the note that's being held and then drag it kind of where you want to place that vocal over a particular note. But I would always say that if you're working with singers of this kind of caliber, just leave their voices as they are because they are going to be close enough to the note. Don't worry about it. You can't improve it.
Your beauty is beyond compare, with flaming locks of auburn hair, with ivory skin and eyes of emerald green.
I mean, it's that kind of thing. I mean, we can see that we're still getting the pitch correction going on, but we have been allowed a little bit of expression here with that C4 that's a little bit sharp. So that's great that that's been left in there, that it hasn't all been stuck on these lines that we see with so many modern performances where nothing is allowed through. Everything is snapped to the notes and you don't get any expression, whereas at least we've got a little bit in here that has been left.
Your smile is like a breath of spring. Your voice is soft like summer rain. And I cannot compete with you, Jolene. He talks about you in his sleep. There's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene.
So when we're looking at Dolly's lines here that she just sung, we can see that this vibrato that she's got almost runs through every single word. It's not like she's going na 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 and then supplying vibrato at the end. It's a constant wobble that we get, but this is just Dolly's voice. So you just leave it as it is, and it's got this talking quality to it, and that's why the lines look as they do on the screen. Because if you watched my video about being tone deaf and how to see pitch and start to be able to tell what's high and what's lower, when we looked at the talking voice, it was more like this. It was wider. So this shows that Dolly has a talking quality to her voice, but she's still hitting notes here. She's still on this F4, and then she's still going up to the G4. But we've got that talking quality in there, so it looks a little bit more wild. Let's just have a listen to it again.
There's nothing I can do to keep...
Actually, this might be a good example. Just this first line. We'll listen to it in slow motion.
There's nothing I can do.
There's nothing I can do. She's got that vibrato. As we can see, these lines are going up and down all the time. She's got that in her voice. She's not applying it at the end of the phrase, but she's really accurate pitch-wise, and somehow she makes the vocal sound like she's talking. So she's got all of these things in her natural voice that would be really difficult to try and simulate, and it would sound contrived trying to sing like Dolly Parton, because you're trying to do all of these things at once. Whereas when you've got her voice in front of that microphone, just let the voice do its thing.
Keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene. Oh, but I can easily understand how you could easily take my man. You don't know what he means to me, Jolene.
And again, we've got a good example here of the freedom that's been allowed to stay in, because just the way that Dolly lets her voice fall down, she's not hitting notes in a run here. This is all just an expressive vocal.
You don't know what he means to me.
So all of that, we're not hitting notes on the way down there until we get to our final destination of then, being a little bit more strict with pitch. But all of that, it doesn't matter, because that's just the expression that's been given to the lyrics that she's singing at the time.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please, don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can.
I mean, it's great because Olivia's harmony lines just give it that Olivia Newton-John sound, while, having Dolly there as well is great, because you get such a mix of the original with the new vocals that Olivia added to it.
You don't know what he means to me. He talks about you in his sleep. I cannot compete with you, Jolene. I had to have this talk with you. My happiness depends on you. Whatever you decide you'll do, Jolene.
The other thing to point out is, of course, the range that we've got going on here with Olivia's voice, not only with her harmony vocals, which of course you need that range to go above your lead vocal and hit those notes that are going to be higher up, but right at the end here, I think we had, what was that? Maybe an A5, an A sharp 5, something like that. So we were way up there. I think actually, as we go back, the pitch monitoring software might have picked it up as an octave lower. Okay, right, so we're picking up Dolly's voice here with the A sharp 4. And yeah, the A5 is what was going to be hit by Olivia. Let me just get the guitar and make sure where my pick is. Right, so yeah. So yeah, so this is where Olivia's, hopefully you can see that, Olivia's voice is going up. So, you know, already, I mean, if I'm taking that down to the A sharp here, or the B flat, this is now an octave lower. So in this vocal extemporization at the end by Olivia, she's showing that she's still got all of that technique, all that really clean head voice. And, you know, she had a lot of health problems in her life. And if there's one person whose voice might have, you know, gone away through the years and then lost a lot of range and had to sing maybe an octave lower than she normally did, then Olivia's voice, you know, you would understand that. You would almost expect that. But this just shows that Olivia's voice was just great all the time. And what I mean by that is, technique-wise, she could just use the perfect amount of air to get these clean sounds in head voice, because this isn't something that you would manipulate and that you would fake in the studio that Olivia's doing this. She's actually singing these notes. She's having this octaves worth of range just in an ad-lib at the end. We've got so much range going on, considering that with our main melody line, we've got... So actually going up in kind of verse and chorus, especially that chorus, we're going up to that C5. And then all the way back down again. So we've gone up an octave just in the chorus. So, I mean, that's a hell of a lot of range anyway. I do say that about the top singers, that they can go from one octave to the next from the verse into the chorus. It means that Olivia's singing the chorus melody line, of course, but she's going to be 2 octaves lower than we just heard her sing at the end of the song. So having 2 octaves worth of range, I mean, and it's important to point out the control that she had with that range. And that's something that you'll be able to see in the other analysis video that I've done. But even in this performance, it's really showing the level of ability that she had, but just the overall control of her voice, that she could get these notes and it wasn't being strained. She could just float up to these notes, like I said, with the perfect amount of air. If you are wanting to play along with this, I'd suggest you probably stick a capo on the 3rd fret of your guitar rather than having to play lots of bar chords, and it's probably what's been done in the studio, so that with that A minor, you know, and when I say A minor, this would be the C minor, but because we've got the capo on, the A minor shape is what you want, and then the C shape, and the G shape, back to the A minor, and to the G, A minor. So it's relatively easy to work your way through those chords. But what's great about this is not only the arrangement, but we've got this kind of fingerstyle going on, and we've got the kind of that hammer on that I mentioned, and we might be hammering on the whole chord there. I think there's a little run in there. You know, hammer on the D string. This isn't an instructional video, but there's loads of really cool stuff going on with that fingerstyle guitar in the background, as well as we get some classic kind of lead lines going on there, and you can just, you know, imagine the Telecaster rather than the Strat that I've got, but it's got such a great sound to it, really nice tone, and just really tasteful playing from a guitar perspective the whole way through. But thank you guys again for requesting this video for tonight. It is one of those that puts you in reflective mood about the artist that we've lost recently. But I mean, the great thing is that we can just go on YouTube, type in the artist's name, and see great performances of theirs, including this from Olivia, considering that it was so recent, just really shows that she always maintained control of her voice throughout her career, and you know, more importantly from a technique perspective, control of that airflow to make those vocal cords work so efficiently all the time. So yeah, a great version of Jolene. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this particular video, and I'll catch you guys at the next one.